Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be giving my MLB DraftKings picks for Monday, July 24th. Got a nice slate for this Monday, 12-game slate today, 12-game main slate. Pitching on this slate, rather weak, in my opinion, just weak at the value tier. There are a ton of SP1s that I really like, but cheap SP2s gets very weak in my opinion. Not a ton of SP2s that I really feel good about, that I'm really confident in. There are a couple SP2s that I could see myself playing, but I don't think there's any guy that really stands out as being a must-play. So there's definitely multiple ways that you can go at pitcher today. I think SP1's rather straightforward up top, but when it gets to SP2 today, definitely multiple ways that you can go. Not really seeing a guy that just stands out as being a must-play. But there is one guy that I do like towards the value tier that's rather cheap and is in a good spot, and that I do feel confident in rostering. So that's the guy I'm going to be looking to pair with my stud SP1. We'll get to that later on in the video. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so like I said, the guy that I think stands out as being your clear SP1 today is Jacob deGrom. He gets a great matchup today, pitching against the Padres in Petco, a very pitcher-friendly park. I think if you're playing cash games today, Jacob deGrom, he is your top option. Definitely has the most upside on this slate, and is by far the safest option. So I absolutely love Jacob deGrom today. This is just a great spot. We all know the Padres, they're probably the worst offensive team in the majors. And they also lead the league in strikeout rate versus right-handed pitchers. So far this year, the Padres are striking out 25.6% of the time versus right-handed pitchers. And offensively, like I said, this team's pretty terrible against righties. They're not an offensive team you're going to be scared of. They're only hitting a 241 average and a 305 WOBA versus righties, which isn't great at all. And then if you look at Vegas lines, deGrom, he's a nice favorite today at -161, and the Padres have a very low team total. They're only implied to score 3.3 runs. So deGrom, he's in a great spot here. Getting to pitch in that pitcher-friendly park in Petco is going to help him out a ton. And given the matchup, he has good upside here. He is definitely safe. So absolutely love Jacob deGrom today. As my SP1, I think if you're paying up, he is the guy that you want today. He's very expensive at $13,400, but I think he can definitely pay off that price tag. He has so much upside in this matchup. So I really like Jacob deGrom today. As my SP1, I'm going to be locking him in $13,400. And then here's where it gets a little tricky. SP2, there isn't really any guy that I see that's just standing out as being a must-play. But there is a value SP2 that I do like today, that I do feel rather confident in rostering. And that's actually Mike Leake getting a matchup against the Rockies in St. Louis. I've said this before, but the Rockies, they are not a good team outside of Coors Field. They do really struggle outside of Coors. I actually have something pulled up here. If you look at the split leaderboards, if you look at how the Rockies are versus right-handed pitching, they do have a decent strikeout rate. They're striking out 10th most versus righties. They strike out 22.5% of the time. Now, offensively, this is a good team versus righties. They are hitting a 271 average and a 324 WOBA. But if you actually look at this offensive category over here called WRC+, if you just sort that by top to bottom, the Rockies, they're actually dead last in WRC+ versus right-handed pitchers. And I'm not really a big advanced metrics guy. I did have to look up what WRC+ was. I knew what it stood for, and I knew what it was about. In Fangraphs, they have a little glossary that actually tells you what each metric is about. And WRC+ actually values run based on park. So this pretty much shows that outside of Coors Field, this team, they're not scoring runs. They're pretty terrible outside of Coors. I don't want to get into too much advanced stuff, but if you just read here, WRC+ is a rate statistic which attempts to credit a hitter for the value of each outcome, single, double, etc., rather than treating all hits or times on base equally, while also controlling for park effects and the current run environment. So this pretty much means that outside of Coors Field, this team's not good versus right-handed pitching, since they do rank dead last in the league in WRC+ versus righties. So I think Mike Leake's in a good spot here. He's very, very cheap on DraftKings at just $5,700. We aren't going to need much from him at all to return value on that salary. So I definitely think he's in a good spot here. I think you could consider him for your cash game SP2. Now for tournaments, I probably wouldn't roster League just because he doesn't really have much upside. But for cash games, I think he can get the job done. If you look at run totals, the Rockies do have a pretty low total right now. They're only implied to score 4.2 runs. Leake is a -141 favorite. So he's in a good spot here. He's going to be pitching at home in his own ballpark. St. Louis's ballpark is a nice ballpark for pitchers, so I think Mike Leake's in a good spot here. Getting the Rockies out of Coors Field, they are a team that you can pick on. So I like rostering Mike Leake today as my SP2 at just 5,700. I absolutely love that price tag. That's the main reason I'm considering him today, just because he's so cheap. And when you plug in DeGrom and Leake as your two pitchers, that still leaves you over 3,800 remaining per player. So you have some good salary to work with. You can get that, or you can get all the upside that DeGrom has, and then go with Leake as your SP2 and still have some decent salary to pay up for some bats. So for my three hitters today, I'm going to be giving two value plays and then sort of a mid-tier guy. So the first guy that I like is going to be at first base, a value play I like here. A guy that's insanely cheap, just 3,400. And that's Miguel Cabrera getting a matchup against Jason Hamill. I think Miggy is in a great spot here against Hamill, and he's very cheap as well at just 3,400. Since we did pay up for DeGrom, obviously going to need some value bats to pair with those two pitchers, and Miggy definitely fits that build. He's in a good spot here against Hamill. He has some nice BVP going in his favor. Always like the BVP. So far in his career, Miggy, he's seen Hamill 17 times, and in those 17 at-bats, Miggy has 6 hits versus Hamill, so he's batting .353 against him in 17 at-bats. That's always nice. And Miggy is in a good spot here. Hamill does struggle against righties. He's actually struggled against righties more than he has lefties this year. So far versus righties, Hamill has given up a .351 WOBA, and he's also given up home runs this year to righties, a 1.71 home run per 9 so far this year versus right-handed hitters. Hamill is another guy. He doesn't really strike righties out. So far this year versus righties, he's only striking them out 14.9% of the time, which is great for Miggy. He's definitely going to have a chance to put the ball in play since Hamill really isn't striking righties out, so that's always good for him. So I think Miggy is in a good spot here. He's very cheap at just 3,400. He hasn't really been producing as of late, but I think he's going to turn that around today. I really like Miguel Cabrera today for first base value, and I'm going to be locking him in 3,400. And then for my next play, we're going to be going to third base. Another value play I like here. A guy that's very cheap, seems very underpriced in my opinion, and that's Manny Machado at just 3,600, getting a matchup against Blake Snell. I really like Machado today for third base value. He is very cheap at just 3,600. His price has seen a huge decrease off of his last game. In his last game, he was 4,500, and today he's only 3,600, which is a great discount you're getting on him. And he's in a good spot here against Blake Snell. Blake Snell is a guy that does struggle against righties. So far this year versus right-handed hitters, Blake Snell is giving up a .354 WOBA. And then to righties, Snell also does give up home runs, a 1.52 home run per 9 so far this year to right-handed hitters. Obviously, playing in that ballpark in Tampa Bay isn't a great ballpark for home runs, but even when Snell is pitching in that ballpark, he is still giving up home runs. So Machado definitely has some home run potential here. And if you look at hard contact and fly ball percentage, Snell is a guy that does give up a lot of fly balls and hard contact to righties. His fly ball percentage to right-handed hitters is 43.8%. So when righties are putting the ball in play against Snell, it's going in the air, which always sets up well for Machado. And they're hitting the ball very hard against Snell as well. 43% medium contact to righties this year, and 38% hard contact to righties. So Snell has been getting hit very hard versus righties. Righties are putting the ball in air against him. So that sets up well for Machado. I definitely think we could see him go deep here. Even playing in that ballpark, Snell has still given up home runs in that park. So I like Manny Machado today for third base value, just 3,600. Absolutely love that price tag. And like I said, since we paid up for DeGrom, I'm going to need some value bats. So I like Manny Machado today at third base value, just 3,600. And then my final play is going to be in the outfield. Mid-range play I like here. That's Nelson Cruz at just 4,300, getting a matchup against Eduardo Rodriguez. Nelly Cruz, we always know him as a guy that mashes lefties, and he's in a good spot here against a lefty that does give up home runs and fly balls. If you look at Eduardo Rodriguez's home run per 9 to righties and his fly ball percentage, like I said, he does give up home runs, 1.46 home run per 9 to right-handed hitters this year. If you look at the fly ball percentage, he's another guy that when righties are putting the ball in play against him, it's going in the air. His fly ball percentage to right-handed hitters is 47.5%. So that sets up well for Nelson Cruz. We know he has a ton of power, and especially against lefties, this dude could definitely take Eduardo Rodriguez deep. So I really like Nelson Cruz today, just 4,300. He should definitely not be this cheap going up against a lefty. So I like Nelson Cruz today. If you're looking for a mid-range play, definitely consider him at just 4,300. And yeah, so these are my 5 plays for tonight. I went with Jacob deGrom, Mike Leake, Miguel Cabrera, Manny Machado, and Nelson Cruz. When you plug these 5 guys in your lineup, that still leaves you an average of over 3,900 remaining per player. So you have some good salary to work with. Just plug in a couple of value plays, and you can build around this 5. Or if you want to get my full lineups, be sure to follow me on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. My lineups are $5 a day, or you can get a week of lineups for $25. So message me on Twitter if you are interested in that. Or if you just have any questions about the slate or need to ask me something, you can contact me on Twitter as well at the DFS_GOAT. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed. If this is your first time on my channel, please be sure to subscribe. I do upload these videos pretty much every day, so I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. And if you never want to miss out on any videos, if you scroll down to where the subscribe button is, there is a bell icon. If you click that bell icon, that'll actually notify you every time I upload. So be sure to do that as well if you never want to miss out on any videos. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Good luck tonight, guys. Peace.